it's very important in today's world to stay true to the true values and principles.
Ukraine is hope to me.
None of the countries or nations in the history of humanity did not win the war without economy.
If you invest in Ukraine, that is one of the best security guarantees.
Yuriy Kryvosheya is the vice president of PJSC Toronto-Kyiv and president of the Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce. He manages one of Kyiv's landmark mixed-use real estate complexes, Toronto-Kyiv, home to leading international companies and the Holiday Inn Kyiv. Beyond real estate, he is a co-founding partner of Yakabu, one of Ukraine's largest e-commerce platforms, and serves as head of the supervisory board of Promprylad and Renovation, a leading innovation and impact investment center in Ukraine. Yuriy is also a co-founder of KC Hospitality Solutions, focusing on hotel development and management.
Hello, good morning. I'm Natalka, Cmoc. This is Off the Record. I'm the Canadian ambassador to Ukraine and very fortunate to have this position. I'm here today with Yuriy Kryvosheya. It's very difficult to say what exactly his title is because he's involved in so many very important initiatives. I know him mostly through the Canadian-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce. However, you're doing so much more. Just to say a little bit, you are trained or you've been educated in the United States. You've worked with international financial institutions. Maybe you could say a little bit about that. And now you are very active in Ukraine on various projects. But could I just maybe ask you just to introduce yourself?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a huge pleasure to be here and a huge honor, especially with such an amazing, great friend, personal and for Ukraine. In terms of my background, yes, I got education in the US. And when I came back here, I was a first investment hire for IFC, International Financial Corporation, private arm of the World Bank. Now I'm diversified in a number of businesses. One of them is Toronto-Kyiv, which is a real estate complex in the center of the city, together with the Holiday Inn Hotel. As you mentioned, I'm vice president of Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, responsible for Ukraine. Also co-founder of Yakabu. Yakabu, it's, as of today, the largest book online national platform, but this is actually a group of companies, and we have our own publishing. We have our own, a lot of, the whole thing that we basically do is to promote reading in Ukraine, and actually our mission is to help to make Ukraine the most reading nation in the world. I'm also serving the board of various organizations, head of supervisory board of Promprylad, which is probably today one of the most known projects in terms of impact investing. It's the revitalization of old post-Soviet plant into new senses.
So maybe let's start there. So let's start with Promprylad because it's in Ivano-Frankivsk. And I remember when I just arrived here as ambassador, she said, you have to go see this place. So I was like, okay, fine. So we'll go. We went to see it and wow. And I've been talking about it ever since to anyone who listened to me talk about this because Promprylad is, to me, the new Ukraine. I think it's in one building, shows in all kinds of reasons why this is the new Ukraine. So it's in Ivano-Frankivsk. It's like you said, it's taking a historic building, but it's an old building and converting it to space for innovators is how I would describe it. And they share resources, they share space, but it's not limited to one sector or another sector. What's beautiful about it is that you have in one space all kinds of innovators and that cross-pollination, including arts and theaters. And I did an impromptu radio interview there with Radio Soborna. And it's just, you feel energized and you feel very special. How did you come up with, how did this start? How did Promprylad start?
Thank you for asking this question because there is actually many layers and the project already has gone through a lot of phases of the roadmap. But basically, the founding team, which is led by Yuriy, who is a founder and the CEO, started from smaller, let's say, project. And when we talk about impact investing, we have to now have a quick deep dive into different methodologies. So first, they had a very amazing success in establishing urban space 100, which is social entrepreneurship, which is a different methodology. And basically, if I remember correctly, about 80% of income went to social initiatives, and through very known Тепле місто, they been able to successfully launch more than 400 social responsible amazing projects, like helping kindergartens or for, something in the city. And basically they became a power. So when they looked at this old post-Soviet plant right in the center of the city, another idea was born to take it up to another level. But taking consideration that for self-sustainability, you do have to have commercial aspect, but from another point of view, you cannot be only solely for high IRR hunting. You have to find a balance. And that's why it was movement and transformation into the impact investing model. So it is for profit with, minimum return, but it's not your typical real estate project where, investors are hunting for very high IRR. So in order to achieve that balance, which you already mentioned, because when we, for instance, talk about innovations, it's not about only stereotypical definition of innovations to meaning technology or software. It's about innovative approach in anything and everything you do. As you mentioned, theater, art in general, in terms of, new co-working or how people interact, how new senses essentially are being born. And as evidence of successful track record, for instance, Forbes, when they're doing rating doing business in Ukraine among cities, if I remember correctly, it was the first prior to COVID, and Ivano-Frankivsk was about 30-something place. So after Urban Space 100, Тепле місто, and the involvement of Promprylad, I don't remember which year and right now exactly, but it was prior to full-scale invasion, Ivano-Frankivsk got the first place. Why? Because of those processes that were initiated, also including on the platform of Promprylad, the communities, business communities, people in general started to feel differently in the sense how they approach things. And there was, one of the first in the country union of the triangle, basically business, the social community, and the government, where there was one office created on the platform of Promprylad to develop the whole investment strategy for Ivano-Frankivsk Oblast even, so everybody participates.
So it's a beautiful model. It's a beautiful building when you walk in. There's children running around. They even make sure that there's a space. And it's not just occupying children. The children are actually actively innovating themselves, and that's really beautiful to see. So they feel like they are. They don't feel like they are. They are part of the project as well. And when I saw it, I instantly had, wow, Ukraine is different than what I remember. Ukraine is hope to me. And I believe that this is just an example of what's happening around Ukraine throughout. And I believe this is why we're also seeing Ukraine being able to respond through innovation and research in the war. So there's a lot of NGOs and there's a lot of various organizations that are working on innovation. Well, I'll just simplify and say drones, but it's that whole ecosystem of drones. It's not just the drone, it's everything. And I met with like Dignitas and others. There's just so much that's happening here. And I think that unfortunately, the rest of the world doesn't quite understand what Ukraine is and how it's different from Russia, for example, or from its own historic past. So thank you very much for leading on that, because I think it's really a critical model, and I hope to see it evolve. Ivano-Frankivsk, I'm just going to do a plug for Ivano-Frankivsk here, because I think this is one of the cities that people who come to Ukraine need to go see as well. It's a city of theater. It's a city of youth. And many people don't realize that. But you have several projects. Another one that we use as the Canadian Embassy, and along with many others, is the Toronto-Kyiv complex. Why Toronto-Kyiv? Why is it named that?
Thank you for this question. If I may, with your permission, just mention important things in terms of Promprylad. When I first visited Promprylad, I spoke to some, beautiful lady entrepreneurs who mentioned, because that was prior to full-scale invasion. Because of Promprylad, they didn't leave Ukraine because people were migrating to find jobs. They didn't leave. They got a new hope. So that's why that model will have to be multiplied, as you said, in all over the Ukraine in order to preserve that hope and to foster innovation and so on. So coming back to Toronto-Kyiv, that's why I was brought actually to Promprylad to share my experience in terms of, development, real estate, creating ecosystems, and share my experience.
Because it's a multi-use facility.
Yeah. So Toronto-Kyiv is a mixed-use, according to real estate terminology, mixed-use complex that contains of Class A office premises, hotel, Holiday Inn, retail, event spaces, restaurants. When we built at that time, first time in Ukraine, -5 floor parking, and a lot of other aspects which return essentially into the, the whole ecosystem. Coming back to your question, why Toronto-Kyiv? That's a beautiful, interesting example of true amazing partnership between Canada and Ukraine in all aspects. As we perfectly know, and we really appreciate, Canada is the first country who recognized independence of Ukraine.
After Poland, technically.
And basically, the Canadian community and Ukrainian diaspora being in Canada has been very involved in helping Ukraine in the early 90s in all aspects. And the government, being trying to lead the country in a very tough situation and with no budget, was giving some things as appreciation. So basically, the land on which Toronto-Kyiv is built has that legacy when MOU has been signed between the Kyiv city and Canadian community, and basically to fast forward to today, we partnered with our Canadian partners, and from those days we remained in the same partnership, and we essentially now more than just friends or formal on the paper partners. We're essentially like one family, and the project name was Toronto-Kyiv. But essentially, when we were finishing construction and we had to commission the building, we had to create the commercial name. And when I analyzed, a lot of residential projects were called something plaza, something towers. I decided I don't want to be, have a typical approach. And many people knew the working name Toronto-Kyiv, and I decided to keep it this way. So some people liked it, some people questioned, but at least it stuck to them. So, and yes. Toronto-Kyiv today resembles the bridge between the two countries, Canada, Ukraine, between the two cities, Toronto and Kyiv. And it has, with your support and with the support of the embassy and the Canadian government, has become, a true platform where we host a lot of things together or highlight a lot of actions that we do together between our two countries. And that's very important energy, which adds to the ecosystem that I mentioned, because it's not only about, and it cannot be only about commerce. It's also about the positive energy, reputation, and a lot of aspects that maybe cannot be put in the financial model of the Excel, but people feel them, and that's why they come back and they want to be part of that.
Yeah, it has a very good reputation. It has a unique brand, so that's a very good vision on your part. Canadians do relate to it, so they see it. They go and visit with pride. There's some great restaurants that also helps attract people there. There's a beautiful sculpture right at the bottom of the stairs, and I believe there's its a connection to you as well. Maybe just very quickly tell us a little bit about that sculpture, and we'll send photos because it's spectacular looking.
Very quickly, I have a huge age difference with my brother, and he went into art and he created amazing projects where he creates very unique things, and we decided to do that statue which highlights the name and the legacy, and it's basically the Kyiv chestnut leaf and the Canadian maple leaf kind of put together and resembles that unity, and basically states that this is Toronto-Kyiv. So again, we wanted to do something out of the ordinary. This is how we portray where the people are, so they can, look at from that way as well.
And I encourage people to walk by it. It has, luckily, the beautiful basilica across the street, which, with working with them, you also do light shows. So, for example, around Canada Day, you made it sort of the white, red maple leaf themed, and it was absolutely spectacular. So when you're sitting in the restaurant, you're staring at the basilica with the light show. It's absolutely stunning. And we've had a few Canada Days there, and unfortunately last year we couldn't, because you experienced what too many people are experiencing throughout Ukraine, the Toronto-Kyiv complex. You're very resilient, but if you don't mind, I think it's important for you to maybe describe what happened and what day I think it was last December, you were affected by a strike on Kyiv. And I went to visit it. I wrote about it. Please tell us a little bit about what happened.
Thank you. And, in 2024, after, the hardships of the beginning of full-scale invasion, we gradually tried to pick up our operations and to support the team and to improve some of the things. So in 2024, last quarter, we're really picking up. But as I say, unfortunately, that year operationally for us finished on December 20th, because on December 20th, we got struck by 2 Russian ballistic missiles. It has been devastating because the damage is not of a cosmetical nature. Thankfully, the main structures holding the building, everything is good. And we actually went through a lot of very processes to improve things. But basically, when we talk about elements of structural facade, it requires millions of dollars to renovate and to do this. But the main thing, what we experienced, and we from our team, from Toronto-Kyiv team, from Holiday Inn team, we're very lucky that everybody was alive on our side and from the guests. So the first our goal and strategy was security measures to take care of the people, of the guests immediately. And basically emergency action was diversified and immediate. And we were all on the ground 24/7 without exaggeration, working through the situation without weekends, without anything. And the first idea and necessity was to stabilize the situation before you can even think how you're going to come out from it. But if I, will be jumping just, from bullet point to bullet point, immediately on December 20th in the evening, when I constantly walked around and tried to fix, what is happening and tried to give, instructions so we come out from it, I realized that, yes, in the second half of December 20th, people were kind of a little bit active because there was adrenaline, everybody was trying to help each other. But I knew that it's going to be a matter of time when there is a sobering will come up because of devastating things that happen. So I immediately started to dream, because it's important. That gives you a goal. And I looked around that internally, some of the things are actually okay. I said to the team, look, we'll stabilize first, we'll cover the perimeter, but we'll come out from it step by step, gradually. Because, there are other buildings, I'm not going to name them. I'm not saying this is right or wrong decision, but some of the owners decided to freeze. And there is, again, no right or wrong answer. Everybody has their own choice. I decided that we're going to come out from it gradually. And I shared the dream with the team. And actually that dream has become our vision, our strategy. And now it's a roadmap along which we're moving. And again, Camilla, thank you for your support.
I just want to note that I've been visiting the complex every few months, and the progress is amazing. We just had a bit of a team meeting there a few weeks ago, and I was stunned at how it was renovated. You come in, you would never have known that the complex was struck. But I would like to also note that you took very much a human-centered approach to all of this. When you spoke about it, you always led not about the damage to the building. You led with What does this mean for your team? What does that mean for the other business owner? How can you help them? So I really believe the secret of your success is that you're thinking about your team, you're thinking about people, you're thinking about the impact. And I believe that's why it's a great motivation, because if you think about just the building, it's difficult to keep going. But if you're thinking about the people that you're supporting and the people that you will approach the project and accelerate it much quicker, and which is the case. And that complex has also facilitated and helped in emergency situations at the beginning of the war. So again, that people-centered, I believe you became a center where even medical, maybe you could explain a little bit, but you helped in the war effort using the complex to support.
Yes, from the first days of full-scale invasion, at that time it was, sensitive information, but we've immediately from the first hours of full-scale invasion switched to what has to be done for defense efforts. So basically the hotel was not being used for commercial purposes. It was being used, let's put it this way, for the common goal for defense efforts. And all our tenants were closed except three restaurants, which were feeding our defense forces, territorial defense, and elderly people who were around and couldn't move that much. And we're focused specifically for that. And at the same time, the team was relocated in different locations. Of course, everybody had a different story. And we kept on supporting our team and paying the salaries with having zero revenues, because I believe, as you mentioned, when we care about the people, I believe that in life, everything comes down to people. It doesn't matter what position you hold and what title you have. It's all about teamwork. And it's all about, you have to be together and be respectful and hold hands, and then you'll come out from any situation, and which we have a successful track record of, because when, for instance, in Kyiv Oblast, it became easier and we pushed Russian forces out, I basically just on time for at that time, 10th anniversary of the opening of the hotel, we reopened the hotel and brought back the team and we started operating. Of course, 2022 was the year with a huge minus on our P&L, but that was the start to come to a positive result. But again, unfortunately, yes, in 2024 we had things happen what happened. But now coming back to the people, I strongly believe that, especially in today's reality, it doesn't matter if you're owner or if you're a general or if you're holding any position, you cannot be just on the sidelines giving orders. You have to be more than even a playing trainer. You have to, as I always say, be with your team out in the field, playing defense or score goals or be in the midfield, whatever is needed at that particular time, and be together. There is, this is my personal opinion, there is no other ways. And in order to do that, you have to have that mutual trust and helping each other. And that has to be natural, because if it's not natural, it's a matter of time when it will disappear.
And, if you don't mind me just mentioning this, you also have a foundation related to children who lost their parent. And so, again, you're looking out for people, but you're also thinking, you're not just looking out for people individually, you're actually having the view of the future by thinking of the next generations. What brings them? How do we support them? Are you comfortable to describe a little bit about the foundation?
There are two vectors if we're trying to touch the topic of looking to the future in order to keep on gluing our society together, which is very important. So one of them is Soborna Ukraine, and I'm on a supervisory board of that. And we basically, our core activities, we take care of children of our fallen defenders. We have more than 1,200 kids under our care. We focus on quality, not on the quantity, in order to make sure that we follow the roadmap very systematically, because onboarding of the kids is at different ages depending when, unfortunately, the tragedy happened. We had that from 6-month-old onboarding to, and we basically take care of the kids until they reach 21st anniversary. And it's not only psychological rehabilitation and to deal with the tragedy as a first phase. There is camps, there is education We have in-house psychologists, in-house educators, and we also, because together with the CEO Club, we help to sustain, Soborna Ukraine, and many of the business owners, members of CEO Club, help in various ways. For example, we launched a program of internships when already people can get a grasp of, the professional experience and make a choice if this is of this area is interesting or that area, but at least to get an experience. So we do a lot of things, and I do believe this is about the future. If we lose right now, our future generation will lose everything, and we have to act now. Another vector is Dolado. I'm on advisory board. We take care of psychological rehabilitation of veterans, and again, it's not only about first phase as a psychological rehabilitation. We have professional orientation or reorientation, because as we noticed, a lot of veterans, when they come back, that not necessarily would like to come back to the same job. Some of them want to become entrepreneurs or switch jobs. So that's why you go through different programs, sort of economics, finance 101 type of things, in order to give, basic fundamentals and to show them that they can be successful in a business area as well, to empower them. Yeah. So this is very important. And all of this, I think, is a part of a larger ecosystem again.
Yes. So, speaking of the children, it really fits the principle and value of it takes a village to raise children. And it's not just the parents' responsibility, it's the entire community's responsibility. And I feel that that's the application here. And I often speak to, because I've heard people describe it on those first days of the full-scale invasion, how communities came together to defend their communities, how it's taking that together approach. I heard this in Bucha, where there were horrible tragedies, but the communities really came together and protected themselves and from the enemy, and it made a huge difference. They ended up diverting them. So it's something that I don't know if many outside of Ukraine realize that, but community is an important value for Ukrainians. And you can see it even in business. It's always thinking about what else we could do. And that leads me to the Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, you being the vice president of that organization. And it's been operating since 1992, correct? That's an important organization, and it's. I would like to know a little bit, though. What is it that you do? What kind of services do you provide? Is it mostly Ukrainian businesses, or is it mostly Canadian businesses? What's the model?
Thank you. We exist since 1992, and we always have been and continue to try to be, a solid and important pillar between Canada and Ukraine relationships. And when I say between Canada and Ukraine relationship, everything that incorporates and from absolutely both ways, in order to be that important bridge that works both ways, of course, to enhance trade relations, to enhance investments. And to be a reputable stakeholder, to provide support for any necessities, whether it's for Canadian or Ukrainian businesses. For example, it's being a reputable partner, trying to handhold Canadian companies with their needs on Ukrainian market, whether it's to find a partner or where they can invest, or market intelligence, or even from basic things to set up local infrastructure from a legal standpoint, to advise, proper reputable partners, and as well, vice versa for Ukrainian companies to help them to enter, Canadian market, and there are, tons of opportunities, and as well. When we talk about, many diversified elements, it's about supporting, great initiatives that are done together as well with the Canadian government. One of the great projects that we had, CUTIS, Canada-Ukraine Trade Investment Support Project, thanks to the Canadian government, there was a significant, up to, if I remember correctly, 40 million Canadian dollars dedicated to the program, which essentially helped to increase the trade between the two countries and to make it, I believe, more fundamental. Why more fundamental? Because it involved a much diversified base of participants, and including SMEs, which are actually the fundamental for any economy to grow. And I think this is very important. Another thing is that what we do, one of our, if I may, important projects is the Rebuild Ukraine Business Forum.
I was going to ask you about that. So it's just to talk a little bit about it. So it's a conference you started, and it's in its third year now, correct? The fourth year.
This year is going to be fourth. Yeah.
Fourth year. It's a conference in Toronto, and you've every year have been able to bring also a pretty strong Ukrainian delegation. Are Canadian companies or who are the Canadian companies who are interested, and are they interested in participating? First of all, who do you attract to the conference from the Canada side?
Absolutely. So we started our Rebuild Ukraine Business Forum in 2022, and this year is going to be the fourth annual. So in terms of the interest, or to speak in facts, all our previous three were oversold. So basically, there are tickets sold in Canada to help the effort, of course, because we try to implement and utilize this.
It's focused on reconstruction, correct? Or what is it focused on?
It covers a lot of aspects from reconstruction, rebuilding, with the focus of the action now, not later. It covers.
So just to give an example, just because I wanted to have this podcast to talk about the conference. The first year that I attended, which was 2 years ago, there was a very successful focus on IT, and I saw the audience just eyes pop open when they realized how advanced Ukraine is in terms of some of their digitization project, digitalization, maybe I'm using the wrong word, but the IT sector, and it's something that's actually a strength of Ukraine and actually has been for a very long time. It was a strength even when I was here previously. What's going to be sort of the topics this year that like the IT sector? What is your focus this year?
So if every year we try to have a particular flavor with the main focus between Canada and Ukraine to support Ukrainian efforts, this year we're going to focus on, let's put it this way, joint front of Canada, EU, and Ukraine and UK, in order to show that with a joint effort, we can have basically a shared future and to achieve, great results, because essentially, Canada, UK, EU, doing amazing job in supporting us today, and it's not only about, let's say, or military or economic. It's also about our companies from all the mentioned, our international partners who are working here today, who are creating working spaces, who are committing to growth of GDP. And this is very important because none of the countries or nations in the history of humanity did not win the war without economy. So this is very important to show that that flavor, and we're going to cover this from every single angle, not only, let's say, from the official or strategic point, but also we're going to present cases of particular companies, whether it's a company from Canada or EU that's existing here, doing business here, but also we're going to present the local Ukrainian view from very successful business leaders who will come to Canada and to share their experience in terms of interacting with all the stakeholders and how you can be resilient through the different design of operation, different design of thinking. And of course, one of additional elements that we're going to have is defending the future through innovation. Because when you mention IT or innovations, again, we're coming back to the notion of innovation, which is much more diversified and multi-layered. And let's say if we look at the defense tech, it's not only about increasing asymmetrical warfare or bringing our capabilities. It's also on the front lines. It's also enhancing our innovation that can be dual usage and when.
So this is really important for Canada right now because our new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, has made it really clear what his mandate is, and it's about diversifying Canada's economy. Economy for building Canada right now is very critical. So just for anyone who's listening, this is a very important topic because I think to diversify into Europe, it is largely about Ukraine because Ukraine is offering, unfortunately, due to very unfortunate circumstances, but we saw that after World War II, it provided the rebuilding Germany was an economic stimulus, right? And so Ukraine is an economic stimulus, and it's helping Ukraine because I believe an economically stable Ukraine, if you invest in Ukraine, that is one of the best security guarantees because then you're keeping people there, as you talked about already. You're also having others want to invest in the protection of Ukraine, whether it's air defense and the military. So companies coming into Ukraine, including Canadian companies, they're not just investing in their business, they're investing in the community, in the people. And you have companies doing that, like Fairfax is a good example. They're investing in companies, but they're also investing in veteran support. There's investing in the communities to keep them together. So they will invest in social structures as well. And it makes a big difference. And we know that donor funding on its own is not going to be enough. And we need that. We need the private sector funding, but we also need their ideas. And when I think of the Toronto-Kyiv complex or Promprylad, this is on a macro scale, or it could be various projects, but this is about mixed use. This is about thinking through how do you support the community to stay and have them thrive. So I'm really glad to hear that because I think it's going to be very interesting and in attracting various businesses from Canada. So maybe tell us a little bit about who's coming from Ukraine, if you can, or a particular topic that you think might be particularly relevant to Canadians to come and hear it.
So, if I may, starting from the topic, I just would like maybe to continue a little bit on the matter that you touched upon, which is very important because for us, for Ukraine, we see that it's amazing opportunity for win-win, for example, with Canada, where we have, our partners, US, EU, and everywhere to set up win-win partnerships because we understand that everybody, including Canada, is upgrading their industrial defense sectors right now. And when we're talking about innovations, we're talking about R&D. And Ukraine, besides that everybody obviously stating is a great platform of R&D, but this is much more because we can do very quick combat testing and immediately to the manufacturers, that feedback, which is impossible in other kind of situations. That means that capex for R&D by partnering with Ukraine will be decreased. If the capex will be decreased, that means there's going to be even more budgets to do even more great things. Therefore, it's a win-win in all senses, and this is very important. But this way, we also focus when you say in terms of helping communities, it's also not only about helping communities, but it's very important in today's world to stay true to the true values and principles, not to hunt only, let's say, transactional agenda, because the fundamentals for the proper survival for everybody going forward is actually should be based on values. And we achieve that, through innovations, through all those matters. And in terms of future participants panels of this year's 4th annual Rebuild Ukraine Business Forum, we have, for example, Chrystia Freeland, who is, planning to come.
And our special representative for reconstruction.
And it's a huge honor. Of course, there are other envoys that already confirmed that are going to be coming. We're looking at representation of Poland. We're looking at representation of Italy as well, coming back to, ambassadors. And we're very much looking forward to seeing you and everybody.
I'm looking forward to it.
And we're also going to have ambassador of EU to Canada coming back, maybe jumping into other panels when we talk about, businesses. Of course, we have amazing investors, as you mentioned, for instance, Fairfax, that have diversified investment done in Ukraine concretely now, and they show that you can be successful by being in Ukraine right now. We have other Canadian, we have other European businesses on Ukrainian side. We have, many reputable businesses going to be present who represent energy. Some of them represent conglomerate business, and we will have members of the parliament being present. We are
so it's going to be a very exciting conference.
It's going to be exciting.
Lots of different perspectives.
Absolutely, and an important thing to mention about Rebuild Ukraine Business Forum, as I said, it was previously oversold, so there is a diversified interest from diversified Canadian community, whether it's investment funds, private investors, whether it's various just entrepreneurs or trade partners. There are two important aspects to understand, is that since it became a success, it became essential not only one day, it has become our Rebuild Ukraine Week, where a lot of our partners and stakeholders organize satellite events around it. So there are going to be, just a teaser, a lot of interesting closed and not only events prior and after. And when people plan, they should take this in consideration, because it can be very inspiring, not only on one day, but on a variety of days. And very important other aspects, like for instance, we talk about Fairfax, which is a powerhouse and is doing amazing things, and should be a great example for other Canadian and not only Canadian powerhouses. But we focus on success stories, and I would like to bring, Honorary Wayne Easter, former parliamentary member of Canada, who was excited about what he heard in our first Rebuild Business Forum 2022. And afterwards, he came for the first time to Ukraine. He invested and he established business. And in 2023, he was on our panel Success Stories. This is an important message that you not necessarily have to be a large conglomerate in order to be successful in Ukraine right here, right now. So that's a positive message, and that's important. And of course, there we're going to have participation of IFIs, because we want to give the financial and investment tools to Ukrainian or Canadian or US or EU investors, what can be used and so on. There's going to be EDC present, IFC, EBRD, and we're looking for other participants, which will give the whole spectrum of financial instruments that can be used in order to implement those successful strategies.
The Russian narrative has really clearly put corruption equal in Ukraine. We know that's not true. We know that that's a big Russian narrative, because Ukrainians themselves are the ones who are really speaking against corruption and doing a lot. And it is a very positive place to be here. But it is going to come up in the conference. How do you handle that? How does the chamber handle it? How do you handle those questions?
We try to handle in several ways. Of course, there is, for example, if we talk about formally, because we do have an honest conversation here, we always going to be vocal to make sure that all the rights, are preserved, that everything is done very correctly, and we're definitely not going to support any incorrect actions, because in addition, that has to be within rule of law. Everybody has to pay attention to the reputation of Ukraine, because it touches everybody's interest. Well, everybody's who is acting in the interest of Ukraine. So we have to be always, careful and support what's best, for Ukraine. And
So just to be clear, you're saying that it's still worth investing in Ukraine and for businesses to come here?
The second short answer is yes.
Yes.
The quick answer is yes. If I can just support, so in addition to making sure that we're going to send a message that everything has to be done properly and honestly, is that I think we showed as a country, a concrete, not abstract track record and a lot of success stories and cases that we can bring desired tangible result, whether it's for investors, whether it's for partners, whether it's for trade, whether it's for defense, and therefore that cannot be ignored. Yes, you always have to find, proper local partner. You have to structure things properly, but that's not an exemption for anywhere in the world. So we do have our own weighted average, and the other countries have their own weighted average, but nothing is a matter of linear function. Therefore, there is opportunity, and I actually would say not only that there is opportunity, I would urge to do more, because the more we do, the more international reputable businesses, investments are present here, the more weighted average is being shifted towards all the positive energy, if I may sound abstractive, but that positive energy will be pushing out the negative energy, whatever it is, whatever it's corruption or some other things that do not allow us to develop as fast as we want to. So I think just as the case with Toronto-Kyiv, as I told my team, instead of just freezing and doing nothing, we already accomplished a lot. We don't have illusions that we still have to do also a great job, because from the facade we still do not look sexy, but internally the heart is already beating and we're welcoming the guests and so on.
Yes.
So what we're trying to do is, by positive concrete actions, we're trying to overshadow negative effects. So now taking this onto the country level, this is what all we can do, and we as Ukraine have been doing this. And these are open facts, and our foreign international partners should see more of that and to act together with us. If there's going to be more support, we can achieve great results much faster. Great results not only on the, pushing the enemy out, the aggressor, but also fighting corruptions, other things, and become, really amazing, prosperous country for win-win partnerships.
Yes, I agree entirely. And I think I wanted you on the show because you're a very good example of exactly that. And you're making a big difference. And so thank you very much for everything that you're doing. I think the Rebuild Conference is going to be yet again successful. So thank you. And I'm looking forward to that. Any parting words?
All of this possible because of teamwork and because also support, including your support as well. And not many people maybe know about how much you personally and the embassy as well helped us to go through the hard times. And I would say we as Ukraine are very lucky to have you. So thank you very much, because this is important. And I'm speaking about facts. So this is important.
Thank you very much. I think that this is a very concrete example of a very positive Canada-Ukraine relationship. It's going strong, and I think it's only going to get better as we keep supporting Ukraine, because Canada and Canadians are very trusted partners of Ukraine and good friends. And so thank you very much. I've been speaking with Yuriy Kryvosheya. I'm Natalka Cmoc. This has been Off the Record. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.